Hello, BookTube. I want you to imagine a hypothetical reality here. We're going to do a little thought experiment together. Imagine for a moment that I were a normal booktuber. I know we're a long way off from that, but imagine if I had a life. If I had a normal, real life. Obligations, loved ones, personal hygiene, pants. Imagine if I had all of those things and I behaved like a normal booktuber. In other words, I lumped a whole bunch of things into one video and I only made one video once in a while instead of 3 or 4 videos every day. Imagine for a minute what that would be like. The reason why I'm asking you to do this thought experiment is because it's going to come closer to reality than either one of us wants it to be in the next, I don't know, week, few days. I am having construction done here at Hyde Cottage. I am installing a nudist-only sunroom, and the good news is that I'm going to film every video from the nudist-only sunroom in 2021. I'm already installing a special waist-high camera. But the bad news is that until then, it's chaos here, absolute chaos. Things being pulled out and rearranged and moved all around. And that is making it harder and harder for me to film videos, much less a fusillade of videos. So one of the ways in which I will maybe start to seem like a normal booktuber is that I will do a video a day instead of 4 videos a day, lumping a whole bunch of things together for the duration, just until this chaos is over. Another way in which I may come to resemble a normal booktuber is that I will almost certainly take Thanksgiving off from making videos. It looks to me like, far from the chaos decreasing on Thanksgiving to give us all a well-deserved holiday, it's going to increase. And I don't think it's going to be possible to make a video tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. I will if I can. But in the meantime, I thought I would make this MegaStuff video, only this MegaStuff video puts the others to shame because it really is MegaStuff. We're gonna stuff everything possible into this video. So we're going to start off with babies, because I've been remiss in showing you pictures of babies. Look at that. That is a medical physiology textbook, text course, but behind is a baby who has just been given a new home and has a lifetime of comfort to expect. And then those of you who don't follow me on Instagram, this is my own baby. Somewhere in there is my own baby. I was a bit chilly in one of the rooms today and Frida decided to burrow. But I've got some more babies to show you here. I've got all of the pictures for everything here on the iPad. Oh, look at that little sleeping beauty. Oh. And also I wanna finish up with pictures that one of you sent me in response to a Q&A answer that I gave the other day. We had an 8K Q&A. I'm kind of baffled as to what's going on here because we're already approaching 8.1K. So I don't know why that's happening so fast, but maybe decreasing the number of videos will help. One way or another. One of the answers in that 8K Q&A that I have received the most email about, just a flood of email, had to do with experimentation on animals, specifically in the case of the question involved on rats. And one of you sent me, oh, look at that. The sender, I don't think would object to me passing along. The sender refers to this rat as a best friend. And that is kind of what I was talking about there. In case you thought that only dogs and cats interrupted humans when they were reading, I want to show you a face. Look at that face. Just cuddled in a towel. Isn't that incredible? And last of all, this, I would hope, would put to rest any superficial objections to the points that I made in that Q&A. Although, to be honest, and to give all of you all the credit that you so richly deserve, I haven't had any superficial objections at all. The conversations that have sparked have been wonderful as always. I swear, I've said it many times before, but on this little corner of BookTube, we are spoiling each other for anywhere else on YouTube, for anywhere else online. By the way that we interact with each other, we're spoiling the experience elsewhere because nowhere else can touch it. And so I haven't received any superficial objections. But this last picture should I would think, put the cap on anything. This last picture goes as far towards proving my point as any picture could. Those are two best friends. They're best friends with each other, and they're best friends with the person who sent me this picture. That is not an automaton. Those are not people that you can pith in order to make some minor microbial tweak to a product that's going to cost you, that's going to make your company money. Those are people. So that was great to receive. That is your parade of babies. I also want to do for this MegaStuff video Daily Penguin. And not only a Daily Penguin, but I suspect our last Daily Penguin. Because in addition to this nudist sunroom overhaul causing chaos here at Hyde Cottage, so that I don't know from one day to the next whether or not I'm going to be able to film, whether I'm going to have any privacy, where I'm going to have any good light, where I'm going to have any opportunity. Not only that, but when that chaos starts to die down, probably in about a week, we're going to be handing it off right to the end of the year, right to the dreaded month of December, when I start to become more and more distracted, more and more distractible, and more unreliable. Until finally it's, the middle of the month or 2/3 of the way through the month, and my videos stop entirely for the year. So rather than limp along and just sort of scrabble and patch things wherever we can, I thought we'd just wrap up the Daily Penguin today. As I'm going to follow through with what I've been doing for the whole month of December. It's not actually that early in December, so I don't think it's too far off. I'm going to follow through with continuing with Nonfiction November. I've been coinciding my Penguin for Nonfiction November in November, a booktube event that was created by Olive at a Book Olive and is hosted by a bunch of great people, designed to throw a spotlight on nonfiction. And we're going to do that today. This is a great Penguin volume of the Grimke Sisters. Sarah and Angelina Grimke, who this is a collection of their public addresses, their speeches, their essays, their editorials. It's a fantastic collection of their work as 19th century abolitionists. Those are the most stirring parts here, especially the addresses, because those addresses, there was one in particular that was delivered in Boston that was standing room only. Even in the hallways, even on the stairways, people were lining the stairways all the way down 2 stories in hopes of catching a word or two of that particular address. Very stirring stuff, even on the written page, about the evils of slavery. But also more than that, the editor of this volume, who edited this volume? Do we know? It's introduced by Mark Perry. Maybe he edited it as well. Whoever put this book together made the wise choice of also including lots of other stuff that the sisters wrote, including equal rights for women, visions of a post-slavery world. Amazing, amazing stuff. These two advocated for almost complete human equality, very much in the William Lloyd Garrison line of thinking and the Frederick Douglass line of thinking. And so it's wonderful to have this volume to go along with the great volumes that I've shown you of Frederick Douglass, and also the great volume of the collected writings of William Lloyd Garrison. Oh wait, what's that you say? What's that you say? Penguin Classic does not appear to have a collected writings of William Lloyd Garrison. Well, as far as I know, that's true, and it shouldn't be. He led them all. He was the beacon to all of them, including Douglass, and they all would have admitted it. Maybe someday. In the meantime, we'll conclude our Daily Penguin series with the Grimke Sisters. This is a wonderful volume. The introduction is great. The notes are great. The contextualizing is great. Just what you want a Penguin Classic to do. And it's important. These women risked their lives. They were daughters of the South. They were daughters of the aristocratic South. They grew up in a slaveholding family and rebelled against it all. Largely through, Sarah had an amazing transformational experience teaching a black slave in her family, black servant, how to read. And that shattered barriers in both directions very liberally, and you can't go back from an experience like that. And the reading these things is just, it'll set your hair on end. It's just amazing stuff. So we'll end our Daily Penguin with the Grimke Sisters, and that is lots and lots of fun. I also want to give you a follow-up in this video, and I've got pictures. I want to give you a follow-up to the 3 books that I mentioned yesterday. Was it yesterday? It's hard to tell. Time is already a blur for me anyway. And nowadays, oh my God, it's so much worse. I think it was yesterday that I gave you 3 titles that were November releases that I hadn't read yet that I intended to read. I read them all last night. And I wanted to give you feedback on them because I don't make any plans from one year to the next, but I think about my BookTube channel all the time. Obviously I do, since it's so important to me. And one of the things that I think is that one of the things I would like to sort of do is give you more feedback to the things that I read. It's partially an outgrowth of just the tsunami of response that I've had from my newly revamped Friday Reads videos, where I just go through new releases with you and talk about them. Not ones that I haven't read, but ones that I have read, so that I can give you my 2 cents worth on them. Not full reviews, but definitely more than just a Yelp-style thumbs up or thumbs down. A lot of you have written to say that you really like that not only do you enjoy it, but that it's also helpful when you're doing your own online shopping or even in-person shopping. I leave my email on every video specifically so that you can get in touch with me about that or anything else. But as an outgrowth of that, I think I'd like to do more of that in 2021. Now, in 2021, when it comes, I might not think that, but for right now, I do. So I wanted to give you feedback on the 3 books that I mentioned yesterday, all of which I have now read. The first one is Chloe Gong's debut novel, These Violent Delights, which is taking off like a bottle rocket. It is going to be a hit for her. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it is filmed. And it's a Romeo and Juliet pastiche with liberal adaptations set in 1920 Shanghai, where the 2 young people who are the designated successors to their rival gang leadership were once in love and remember it bitterly now. And they come back, they clash back into contact with each other in the course of this book, because not only is the warfare between their families amping up, but also there's a third adversary. There is an illness that is causing people to just lose their minds, just go violently insane. And neither family produced it. Neither family understands it. And there are all sorts of white colonialist Westerners who are in Shanghai and who claim to understand it and claim to have cures and are, in the beginning of the book, pretty obvious candidates for the people who caused it in the first place. And this causes a fairly familiar storyline where our two heroes have to put aside their differences and team up. And maybe get their families to team up as well. And this is an uneven novel. Of course, it's the debut, and debuts tend to be uneven. I thought it was tremendously promising. The parts of it that were good were very good. The parts of it that were good were far better than I would expect those parts to be, even in a much-worked debut novel. I'm assuming that 1 million people have read this. I'm assuming that 1 million people have gone over it. I don't know anything about Chloe Gong at all, but I get the impression from reading this book that she's probably someone who is humble enough to take advice from friends, from beta readers, from all sorts of workshop members, maybe, stuff like that, because this has a lot fewer weaknesses than I would expect a debut novel to have, especially one this complex. Unfortunately, one of the weakest parts of the book is the very heart of the book, the center of the book, and that's the relationship between our Rom and our Juliet. That relationship is never convincing. In its Cold War beginnings in the first pages that we see, in the flashbacks to its more passionate early beginnings, and in the way it develops in the course of the novel. Maybe it's an accurate pastiche of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, at least from my point of view, because when I watch Romeo and Juliet, especially in the theater, I get halfway through the play and I think, what do these two see in each other? It's not just opposites attract. It's these two wouldn't even like each other. This is just Shakespeare telling you that this is happening. It's not organic in any way. Maybe that's just the curse of this story, no matter how faithfully you pastiche it. But the part that I really liked, the part that was done really well, apart from the supernatural elements were well realized. But the part that I really liked was, believe it or not, the social commentary, the colonial commentary in addition to everything else, this is a terrific portrait of what once upon a time in the mid 20th century was referred to with misty eyes and a great deal of condescension as Old Shanghai. This is a great evocation of that city in that time period, only without the sentimentality. So, in other words, this is a recommend. You will find plenty to like in this book. I think that you will probably you'll come out of it with some major disappointments. And what I would ask you to do in that case, ordinarily, if I came out of a book with major disappointments, in this case only one, I would probably give it a serious mark against the book. But this is a debut, and I think that's the kind of slack that we should all cut on debuts. If I know my debut novelist, no one will be more acutely aware of the minor flaws in this book than Chloe Gong. So I can recommend this definitely. You're gonna see it everywhere. So you at least you have my 2 cents worth. Now this next one is indie published. This is Reese Ford, and this is Bound, book number 1 in the Chinatown Demons series. Now on the surface, this has a plot strand very similar to These Violent Delights, but it's barely played up at all. The East versus West part is barely played up at all, except that the East versus West part is embodied in the main plot, where a police detective is brought into contact with a medical inspector who is not only from a completely different culture, but who is also from a completely different species. and this author is very prolific, and she's written an endless stream of books of what we now call urban fantasy. And I confess, urban fantasy has never been a sweet spot of mine. Never much. It's always seemed to me to be done in a very slangy, too cool for school kind of narrative pose. Like if somebody read the Dresden Files and didn't fully see how much posturing is going on, how much posturing is going on in the book that is intended to be posturing instead of just intended to be that way. If you know what I mean. Or maybe you don't, because I'm not making a whole lot of sense. But there's a particular kind of very watered down and very amped up Dashiell Hammett that can often, for me, mar urban fantasies. It can very, very much make them feel to me like, like exercises in a kind of evaporated style rather than actual storytelling. And I admit there is a lot of that in this book. And I get the impression from what little research I did that there's a lot of that in a lot of this author's books. Maybe, and I guess she's made a going concern of writing independently. So, good on her. She's obviously tapped into an audience that likes this sort of stuff. And I shouldn't give the impression that I don't. I don't like the narrative stance. It strikes me as, I don't want to say dumb. It's not dumb. This is a very smartly told book. But it's not serious. And that can mean something when the characters have serious problems to face. If it's being told like, an MTV VJ would relate it over martinis or a pile of Coke, then what difference does it make? Is my first reaction. That reaction did not carry me all the way through this book. This is actually promising enough so that this is the first book in the series, I will definitely read the second book in the series. I like the meshing of the supernatural and the normal world here. It's not anything new. It's not anything groundbreaking. I have read a lot of urban fantasy, a lot. Not just the Dresden Files, but also the tons of others. The Iron Druid saga, or a million knockoff store brands from Ace and Rock that you might not know. Always looking to see urban fantasy done really well. What I would really like for urban fantasy would be if it was the best of Dashiell Hammett and the best of well, I don't know how many of you remember the Borables. Probably none of you remember the Borables or know what I'm talking about. There was once upon a time an urban fantasy book called The Borables. They had a sequel, The Borables Go for Broke, that was well done urban fantasy, and there have been a bunch of others. It's a tricky thing to do, and I think that it almost always has it that one half of the equation is stronger than the other. That's true in here. That's true in this book as well. In this case, unfortunately, it's the fantasy part that's stronger. And I say unfortunately because the human character, who is the anchor for the urban part, is the most interesting person in the book. So, just as a pure matter of curiosity to see whether or not those elements balance out any better in the second book, I will definitely go on. But if you like urban fantasy, you won't go wrong with this first installment. I don't mean to be selling it short. So if you like it, and especially if you haven't made the acquaintance of this author, apparently she's written 1 million books and has a devoted following. So you haven't made the acquaintance of her books, and you like urban fantasy, well then, there you go. And then the third book is Dr. John Deloney's book, Redefining Anxiety. We talked about this a bit yesterday. And I also had a number of very touching emails from some of you who deal with anxiety, severe anxiety. I mentioned in my video yesterday that I don't deal with it at all. It doesn't affect me. And that brought out some great emails, some stuff that I am learning a lot about how crippling this can be. And I knew a lot of that anyway because I have a close friend who is subject not only to anxiety problems, but to actual panic attacks that are unpredictable and almost crippling. So that this friend has needed to ask me just to help them get home from wherever. A simple thing like that you can do on autopilot, but it becomes impossible when you're in the grip of a panic attack, which I can only assume is an extreme outward manifestation of anxiety. But one way or another, no matter how you think of anxiety, this book's title actually is true. This will redefine how you think about anxiety and how you deal with it, if you deal with it. I was a little leery going into this because the author projects a kind of dude bro personality, and I thought maybe that would mean that this would be simple or hucksterish. And it isn't either. It's tremendously good. It's tremendously good. Tremendously humane and tough but loving and paradigm shifting in terms of how you should think about the anxiety that you feel, no matter what extent you feel it. And always with a light at the end of the tunnel. Always with an extended hand of, you aren't in this alone. This is not a curse. And you can get through it. You can learn to deal better with it. You can learn to make it a small part of your life, an important part, but not the ruling part. I read a lot of books like this. I read a lot of what could be called self-help or life hack books. I read a lot of them, more than I would like to. A lot of it's professional, so I don't have a choice in the matter. And if they were all this good, my, they aren't. Most of them are terrible. This is not. It's superb. Again, as with these Violent Delights or with the Chinatown Demons, it's going to matter whether or not you are the target demographic, whether or not this is the kind of book for you. But if it has come anywhere close, if it's anywhere close, if you or somebody you know or love has ever had a problem with anxiety on any level, in any way, from nervously biting your nails all the way up to panic attacks, you have to read this book. You just have to read it. A superb job by this author. So those were the 3 books that I showed you yesterday, that I mentioned yesterday. I went ahead and read them all. And I wanted to give you my feedback on them, not full reviews, but I'm trying to get around that. As you know, if you've watched this channel for a long period of time, I have always had a bit of a weird problem with reconciling my day job, so to speak, writing full, considered reviews, with the kind of thing that happens on BookTube. And I haven't reconciled those. I'm not sure. I'm groping here, but this is one of the few instances where I am again going to mimic a normal YouTuber and ask you for feedback because I want to know if you like this sort of thing. I get the impression that you do just from the reaction to my new Friday reads, but I want to know if you want more of that. If you want more of very specific feedback about specific books. So anyway, those are the 3 books there. I shouldn't keep mentioning Friday Reads because there's a chance that it won't happen this week. There's a chance that it won't. But we'll see. And then the last thing for this mega stuff video is a piece of mail. One little package. That's all we have for today. As far as I know, nothing else came. There's a bit of a mystery going on here with the mail. There's a bit of a mystery going on with the mail. I can't quite figure it out. Today, or maybe it was yesterday, maybe it happened yesterday, last night, for the second time, a McDonald's food delivery showed up on the front porch. Those of you who are not from America, McDonald's is, well, you don't actually need to be, unless you're from Mars, you're going to know what McDonald's is. It's a world-straddling purveyor of absolutely noxious junk food. And there was, for the second time, there was a bag on the porch that had two huge drink containers. One was soda pop, just sugar, and the other was one of those weird caffeinated milkshakes that people get. Just a huge amount that is. It smelled like candy. It was 150,000% caffeine. Just horrible for you to drink even one of those. The idea, and I know it's a fact because I see it every morning when I walk Frida. The idea that somebody could drink one of those things every day. Oh my God, the incalculable damage that you're doing to yourself to do that. But there were those two things in there, and there was a quarter, half pounder type burger, a paper thin slice of burger that has been in a warehouse for 5 months in Poughkeepsie, and it is microwaved and then slathered on with a bunch of army grade cheese. And there was a big container of fries, French fries. And I'm ordinarily very elastic about these sorts of things, but if somebody's making a mistake, if they're just if it was a mistake just once, then it was a delivery problem. If it's a mistake twice, it's somebody putting the wrong address on a delivery, in which case you can't expect me to do anything about it. There's no return address or anything. I'm just going to recycle that food. Of course, I threw out the liquids. I just poured them right down the drain. And they were so noxious, I actually worried about the drain. I still can't believe people drink these things voluntarily. But they certainly weren't going to play with somebody who drinks only water. You're as far away on the spectrum as you're going to get there. The only time when I drink wine now is when I have guests over, and that means never, thanks to the pandemic. And the quarter half pounder with cheese, oh my God, it's going to cause ecstasies of delight for the raccoons on the back hill tonight. I'll put it out there after dark. And they're going to go nuts about it. And they better not go too nuts about it, the little grabbers, because they're not getting McDonald's food every day. I don't want them to get used to it. But my God, they're going to love that. It'll feed a whole family. The fries I can probably handle myself, but that was the mail delivery mystery. What have we got? Oh, look at this. Oh, my. Oh my. All right, this is slated for December 1st. Talk about right up my alley, and yours as well. This is by Jessica Pressman, and it's called Bookishness. Loving books in a digital age. Bookishness. Look at that. Would you wear those high tops? I would. All right, what have we got here? 21st century culture is obsessed with books. In a time when many voices have joined to predict the death of print, books continue to resurface in a new and unexpected way. From the proliferation of shelfies to Jane Austen-themed leggings, from decorative pillows printed with beloved book covers to bookwork sculptures exhibited in prestigious collections, books are everywhere, and not just for reading. Writers have caught up with this trend. Many contemporary novels depict books as central characters or fetishize paper and print thematically and formally. So we're only talking about paper and print books here. E-books still not getting any love. In Bookishness, Jessica Pressman examines the new status of the book as object and symbol. She explores the rise of bookishness as an identity and an aesthetic strategy that proliferates from bookstore windows to experimental writing. Ranging from literature to kitsch objects, stop-motion animation, films to book design, Pressman considers the multivalent meanings of books in contemporary culture. Doesn't sound like it's going to be about reading at all. Books can represent shelter from or a weapon against the dangers of the digital. Oh, no. E-books are wonderful. They're your friend. They can act as memorials and express a sense of loss. Examining the works of writers such as Jonathan Safran Foer, Jennifer Egan, Mark Danilewski, and Leanne Shapton, Pressman illuminates the status of the book as a fetish object and its significance for understanding contemporary fakery. Okay, now I want to know who the author is, right? Because much is going to depend on that. Good Lord, I don't know what to make of what I just read. Who is the author when she's at home? An associate professor of English and comparative literature at San Diego State University. Good school. Where she co-founded the Digital Humanities Initiative. Oh, well, okay. if she co-founded the Digital Humanities Initiative, she can't be against ebooks. She is the author of Digital Modernism and the co-author of Reading Project, a collaborative analysis of William Poundstone's project for Tachyoscope, and co-editor of Comparative Textual Media. Okay, and she also co-edited a book called Book Presence in a Digital Age from 2018. So she's been around this subject quite a bit. And this is coming out as a £24, or no, £24, sorry. It's Columbia University in New York, but the prices on the back are all in pounds. I don't think we should encourage the Brits. Do you? But anyway, this comes out it's slated for the 1st of December. I have no idea what the price is going to be the paperback in dollars is going to be $30. This thing is going to be $30 in paperback. Or maybe, in paperback. Good Lord Almighty on a donkey. The hardcover price in print of this book on December 1st is $90. Okay. All right. Well, you won't be getting the hardcover then. And if the hardcover price of the book is $90, then the book industry deserves to die. Since it costs $4.15 to make this, if you're charging $90 for hardcover, then the book industry deserves to die. I wonder if that'll be covered in bookishness, one way or another. This is December 1st, but there's no way on earth I'm going to wait. This is right up my alley, so I will read it tonight. But I don't know. I will read it tonight with a bunch of other stuff, but I don't know if I'll give you feedback tomorrow because I don't know if I'll be making a video tomorrow or Friday or the weekend. So in the unlikely event that we don't see each other for a few days, or at least for tomorrow, I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. It's going to be a strange and strained Thanksgiving. I know this with bitter personal reality this year because my own Thanksgiving plans, ordinarily I don't make them. Ordinarily I don't have them. I'm a lonely old shut-in who doesn't wear pants. But this year I had Thanksgiving plans and they would have been wonderful, and I canceled them. We canceled them for COVID, and I'm hoping that you did too, because otherwise we're going to see a spike in this virus right on the doorstep of finally being able to deal with it, and that's the last thing any of us need. One way or another, however it's working for you, I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving, especially if I don't see you. And I'm going to wrap up this mega stuff video for now. I think that's all I had to say, but I will be back. I swear I will be back. And when I am back, I'm hoping that I will be right back to being an abnormal booktuber. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.